Welcome to Speaking from Experience, a District 123 podcast hosted by Ayesha Hussain. With Toastmasters International spanning over 148 countries, with more than 270,000 members, the annual quest for excellence unfolds as more than 30,000 members compete for the top spot at the World Championship of Public Speaking. District 123 has been a launching pad for many of these Toastmasters determined to compete at the world stage. In this podcast, you'll have the pleasure of hearing from some of those accomplished speakers as they share their experiences and reveal what it took to achieve excellence in the world of public speaking. Get ready for insightful conversations with members from District 123 as they share with you their journey to greatness.
Hello, and welcome to our very own podcast, Speaking from Experience, with your host Ayesha Hussain, presented by District 123. Our guest today is someone who joined Toastmasters in year 2007, very afraid of public speaking. Little did he know he will fall in love with the art. He will love it so much that he will go all the way to World Championship of Public Speaking and be second best in the world. He has traveled all over Canada, helping children and teenagers, discovering the art and power of storytelling. He's none other than, wait, I've missed one thing about him. He also has his very own podcast that he co-hosts called Great Convos every Monday 12:30, co-hosted with Roger Caesar, our inaugural guest, if you remember. I'd like to now, without further delay, welcome Alexandre. Thank you for joining our show.
Merci, thank you, it's an honor.
But before we continue with our interview, we'd like to show the audience where it all began with your no-bake cake, which we all have tasted.
If you're there in Nashville, you see me on huge screens. And I would rather be there, wherever the middle is, on stage, in person. So why am I here and not there? That I can tell you in one word: tradition. In the movie Fiddler on the Roof, Tevier, the father of the house, struggles between the traditions that hold his people together and the changing world around him. I really identify with Tevier. For me, there is nothing more important than tradition, tradition. Countess Chair, my friends online and my friends on site. For generations, my family has had a tradition. All the family gathers all together on the same date. This date. When I was a child, these gatherings centered around the main ingredient. My grandmother, Grand-Maman, humble, resilient, and the best cook in the world. She made our family's special dessert, le gâteau pas cuit. Mwah! Le gâteau pas cuit. Would you like some subtitles? It's the no-bake cake. The no-bake cake is a simple recipe made from crushed cookies, coffee, and chocolate. Do you like it already? As Grand-Maman became older and her grandchildren more numerous, she passed the torch to the next generation, her eldest daughter. We were now in my Aunt Christiane's house, and we ate Christiane's no-bake cake. My Uncle Pierre, the little brother, he was sure to tease her every time. Yeah, Christiane, you don't make it as good as Grand-Maman. If Grand-Maman was the cookies, the main ingredient of the family, Christiane was the coffee, full of energy and flavor. So we started to think that maybe our family would crumble when Christiane left us too soon. Her brothers and sisters scramble to keep the tradition going and to hold the family together. Who's hosting? Who's bringing the chairs? Who's preparing the games? And I'm thinking, who's making the cake? Well, it's important. It's tradition. I wanted to do my part. So I took Grandmama's recipe and I followed the instructions to the letter, which is not easy. Start with a chunk of butter. Chunk? I don't know what that is. I surprised my family the first time I brought the no-bake cake. And my Uncle Pierre had the first bite. Yeah, you don't make it as good as Christiane. Too much butter, I bet. Well, Pierre, what's wrong with it? How long did you leave it on the counter? What do you mean? You have to leave it on the counter at least 24 hours, so the no-bake cake has time to not bake. Okay, Pierre. Well, each year after that, I created a slightly improved version of the no-bake cake based on Pierre's constructive feedback. The cookies are not crushed right. It is too dry. The pieces, they are too big. He still ate more than his fair share. 12 years after my first try, Pierre said something different. Alexandre, your cake, it tastes like childhood. What? It's just cake. Or is it? No, just like any family's special recipe, our no-bake cake is a symbol. It's a reminder of those we love and those we lost. And it's also really, really, really good. Now, this year marks the first year without our main ingredient. Without Grandmama, I don't know, maybe our family will crumble? Tradition! In that movie, Fiddler on the Roof, everything crumbles around Tevier. His daughters question the people's traditions. The family is evicted. All the villagers are forced out of their town. But the people remain because of their traditions. Yes, some are gone, some are changed, some are morphed, but others remain, and others are created. And it is those traditions that have held those people together for thousands of years. Will my family crumble? No. Because I know my cousins will be there to hold the torch, each one of them adding a special ingredient to our family's traditions. One of them is hosting us, one of them is bringing a karaoke machine, and I have the no-bake cake. Together, we are holding together the family. My friends, what do you want to hold together? Your family? Your community? Your social group? Think about the traditions that exist in that group and do your part to keep them alive. And if no tradition exists, create one. Okay, you might have been waiting for it, my friends, so here it is. This is my no-bake cake. You want a piece? I can give you one. Just reach out and take it. There you go. Yes, take it. It's for you. Take it as a reminder of the importance of traditions. And remember, traditions hold us together. Contest chair.
Where's my cake? You want to have some here? I brought
No, it's okay. So that was a wonderful message. But before I go on to anybody, the contest was hybrid that year. Why did you choose to not travel? Because most of the contestants were in person, and people say that, hey, it increases your chances if you're in person.
Increases the chances. I wouldn't say that. It increases the ability to reach your audience, when you have that instant feedback from the audience, which I did not have because I was in video and I didn't even see the audience, I didn't hear them at all. I had just to imagine what they were feeling and reacting. So why did I not do that? Well, we heard it in the speech, right, at the very beginning. So, okay, can I tell you a secret?
Yes.
So in that speech, I mentioned that why I'm not in Nashville. I'm here because of the tradition, and then I
Yes.
speak about the tradition and my grandmother and everything. The contest is in the summer. The family tradition is January 1st, New Year's Eve, December 31st. So did I lie? No, I didn't lie. Because the truth is, there's another family gathering every year at that moment during the summer. So it's true that I was with my family, it's just a different gathering. So I was trying to figure out, how do I say this without confusing the audience? So saying, well, I would like to be there, but I'm here with a family gathering. We do this with my immediate family every summer. But I want to talk about tradition in the summer. I want to talk about tradition in New Year's Eve. That's too complicated. So I needed to find a way to say all that and hide, quote, the truth. So I just revealed just enough without lying about it. You know, my sister said, "What? That's not even true." I said, "Listen to the words as I'm saying it, and it's, you know, if you know, it's two different family traditions." But I wanted to be with my family at that time, and that was very important, because it would have been strange to go to Nashville and say, "It's so important for tradition, my family has a gathering every year, and that's why I'm here in Nashville and not with my family." No.
So when you knew that you're going to actually be in Nashville, and the tradition is different timing, why this topic then? Why not something else?
Well, that's a good question. So once we know that we're a semifinalist, we need to determine which speech is going to be for the semifinal and then another one for the final speech. The semifinal, I already had it. It's the same as the district. But for the final, I had a short list of 5. So speeches that I had already done in the past that I wanted to improve. So with my short list, I contacted Mark Hunter, my coach, 2009 world champion of public speaking. And we said, well, what is the one? And through our conversation, he helped me understand, what do I really want to share? And I talked to him about that particular speech. Now, we hear about the cake, right? Now, the original version of that for a contest, I gave it in 2017, 5 years before. But it wasn't about traditions, it was about taking a bite out of life. That was the title of the speech. And it was about how to be there with the people that you love while they're still here.
Oh, wow.
So a I think, very nice message. And because of my grandmother in the speech, it worked very well. But it wasn't exactly what I wanted to share. I wanted it to be about tradition. And I even wanted to bring in Fiddler on the Roof that was not in there in 2017. And so I spoke about this to Mark Hunter, and he's like, well, we can do that. I said, it's too complicated. No, we can make it work. Make it about tradition and include Fiddler on the Roof. So it was a huge challenge. And at least half of the original speech is completely gone in order to make it about that. So to answer the question, that was the message that I had wanted to give since at least 2017, but I never was able to create that speech to give that message. And thanks to my coach, I did it.
So if I'm hearing it correct, you can have the best speech, but you still need a coach and a guidance to, say, like a diamond in a rough, you need sharpening in. So how important, and again, I understand when you said this, that coach helped you win it. But I've also heard some people, no, I've got it my way, and no, I can do it. How important is to have that teacher, that guide, that mentor, coach, in not just in Toastmasters journey, but anybody who's looking to become a public speaker?
Well, I can't think of any example of someone in the speech contest making it very far without having help. Now, is that coach, like what we've spoken about? Maybe not. Maybe it's the colleagues in your club that help you during club meetings and outside of club meetings. But just doing it by yourself, you're missing out on the opportunity to get an outside perspective, and not just any outside perspective, but an expert outside perspective. If you get a professional coach, someone who will ask you the right questions to get the essence of the story and or the message out of you. So I think it's essential, and without Mark Hunter, I wouldn't have been able to do that.
So that's really thought-provoking, but I also realized that when you said coach and you need somebody to guide you and to show you the path, not necessarily traditional coach, you are traveling all over the Canada to teach the power of words through storytelling to children. Why is that so important to you?
Wow, I think there are at least two reasons. I started being a storyteller for children. I guess I got the bug in 2018. So at that time, I still was a full-time employee at a cultural center, working in finances. So I was just working with numbers. But I was a Toastmaster, so I thought I want to find opportunities to be able to present to different audiences. But I never thought about children until I had my children of my own. And one day, I don't even remember why, but I either invited myself or my kids invited me to their grade 2 class. And I arrived there with a book. And I read a book. I thought, this will be fun. And then at the end, the children are still there, sitting in front of me, and they want more. I don't have a second book. So I just said, well, why don't I tell a story? And because of my kids, I was sharing stories and inventing stories with them every night. So I thought, okay, let's share the story trompe tronqué, which is literally truncated trunk. So it's an elephant with a very short trunk. So about the being different and being bullied and being accepted. So a very nice story, a nice lesson, but very fun to share with the kids. So I did that, and while I was telling the story, these kids have their big eyes just with me in the story. I'm bringing them in a magical world where elephants have tiny trunks, and you can a long trunk elephant can grab a cloud from the sky and bring it down. So, but everything is believable, right?
Yes.
And I thought, this is my audience. When I saw what we're able to do, and you should have seen what they gave me after so I went back home after I shared that with them. My kids came back on my school bus, and they handed me an envelope. After I left, the kids drew the story, so the different parts of the story, and I've got this pile of nice drawings. So they almost embodied the story, and they remembered it. And what I hope is that they also remember the message that comes with it, of accepting someone else or accepting your own differences. That it's okay if you're different, you're also unique, and you have your own special skills, or you are special. And I thought, okay, these kids need this, I think.
Yes.
So that's one big reason why I go to schools, to share with them some lessons. I also not only tell the stories, but then I teach them to tell stories. Now, this brings me to the second reason why I do this. I do this exclusively in French,
Okay.
and almost exclusively outside Quebec, so for the Francophone minority in Canada. A lot of communities where we are, the French Canadians, or the Francophones everywhere, outside of school, there's no possibility, no real way to live in French. And even inside school, it's like this is only the language of instruction, and for some of them at home. But when I'm there, I hope to offer them and to open their eyes to something else. That it's not just about learning how to count and learning science and all these academic things, but that the power of stories, you can do that not only in school, I teach them, but I show them how to tell stories, and I invite them to do that, to tell stories at home with their family. And by doing that, I hope that I increase the level of ease with which they speak their language.
That really resonates with me, especially the part where you said that it's unique, it's different in each, and your uniqueness is your strength. I remember I actually had an incident where I bought snowflakes, because I have 2 girls, and when you're siblings, you tend to, I wouldn't say compete, but aspire and look up to one another. And I remember I bought 2 different kind of snowflakes, telling them that you both are unique and use your uniqueness as a power, which I find, and especially when you said children and teenagers, with so much social media and cyberbullying, for lack of better words, it really dampens their confidence. So I think what you're doing is really amazing, because you're not just telling them art of storytelling, but you're building a community, and you're giving them more confidence to be who they are. And I really like that thought process.
Yeah. In high school, these kids broke my heart. So the first time that I did a real tour, it was in Newfoundland, and almost all French immersion schools, but they had no problem understanding. You know what? The teachers sometimes say, speak slowly because we're just learning. They had no difficulty at all. So hats off, or a shout out to the kids in Newfoundland and Labrador. But the first presentation I did with these high school kids, I started with a big cardboard, and I asked them, I gave them pens, and I said, okay, while I present, pass this around and think about what are some limitations, what are some negative thoughts that either you have or that other people tell you. And I gave some examples of what I've heard. You can't do it. You think too much, or you have, it's almost like too much of this or not enough of that. And I just gave it to them. And I had never done this before, so I didn't know what to expect, how many words. It came back at the end of my presentation. It was full of words like that. And I saw that and I thought, okay, this is incredible. These are like 15 to 18-year-old kids, and they've got these thoughts in their heads. And as I was presenting, and throughout my whole presentation, it's a keynote, so I give them different messages, but I end with this. I take that cardboard and I through some magical element, I make the words disappear. And I tell them, these thoughts, sometimes you have them in your mind. It's normal. And other people will tell you negative things too. It's normal. It's a part of life. Listen to them, but then let them go. And replace those with positive thoughts. And as I'm removing these negative thoughts, there's only 3 words that remain on the paper, on the big cardboard. It's follow your passion.
Wow, I like that. Follow your passion.
So I'm mentioning this because high school kids used to be my least favorite audience.
Oh.
Because most of them are taller than I am. They are really hard to connect with. And if you're not doing it right, they will let you know.
Oh, yes.
If they're bored, they will just stop listening. They will be elsewhere.
I think that's the most brutal audience.
It is. But it's also become my favorite. Last year, I thought one of my favorite for that same reason, because they will tell you, they will let you know instantly. It's not like Toastmasters. Oh, your speech was awful, but yay! you're learning something. But with teenagers, they don't.
No, they'll tell you. They'll give it to you as is.
That's right.
Without any filter.
They won't be polite.
Yeah.
So it's even harder. But it's also the most rewarding for that reason. Because when I'm able to reach them, then I believe that I'm helping them go through a difficult time in their life.
Oh, that is such a beautiful cause that resonates with me because something that I'm very passionate about is mental health, and I always say that broken children will grow up to be broken adults,
Right.
and broken adults will raise broken children. So if you're able to help children and teenagers and heal them, you are changing the world, and it'll create ripple effect. So that is a very awesome cause. But now I want to go back to someone who was afraid of public speaking. How did he go on loving it?
Just by doing it. I mean, I joined Toastmasters. Why? Because I had nothing to do on Wednesday evenings. I was working.
So can I add, if you have nothing to do, please join Toastmasters.
I was in a new city and in a new job, just working 9 to 5, and at the end of my workday, every day just going back to the apartment and just watching Star Trek or doing whatever. And one day, it was a Wednesday afternoon, I got this email, venez voir Toastmasters Voix du Nord, see what we do. I'm like, okay.
Translate, please.
Come see what we do. I already translated. But come see the Club Toastmasters Voix du Nord. It's the name of my club.
Oh, okay, that's the name of the club.
And I thought, I got nothing to lose. And it was right beside. I had no excuse. Like I didn't have a car, but I just needed to walk 5 minutes, and I was there. So I went there, and it had something to do with toasting, with speaking. I thought, oh man, these people are going to be really good. Like I'm going to be intimidated. And then I went there and I found out that they're not very good. I wouldn't say that way. They're not professionals. They're not experts. They were just like me, just like you, just like everyone starting out, just learning a new skill or refining a skill. Now, okay, I was a little harsh. Some of them were more impressive than others, I'll say that way, including the president of the club, Michel Lafrance, who became my mentor. And just the way that he was able to command the room, like it was a business meeting at the end of the meeting, and I'm thinking, I've never had the experience of a business meeting or just a work meeting run so smoothly with someone who is able to, what do you say, diriger le trafic, direct the traffic,
Okay.
and control the speaking. I'm tired and my English is not so good right now. So I was impressed by him and by Richard, who gave a speech, and I thought this is interesting. And if these are people who are learning this skill now, like this would be useful for my job. And eventually it was. So I joined after a few meetings, and shortly after, like a few months later, my boss started asking me to represent the organization at various events. And I was happy to do it, which was really strange because if you had asked me before, I would have been, no, it's not for me. But because of the confidence that you gain by just practicing public speaking every week, you put yourself in different situations, and then you can start enjoying it. Now, one of the things that I was afraid to do, but I did anyway because I knew I was going to learn something, is go on TV.
Oh, wow.
So as a segment, like a 2-minute segment to tell people all over Ontario what's going on culturally in Sudbury or in Northern Ontario. And the first time I did it, we were at the art gallery. I had my notes. I was shaking. If I look at it, now I'm like, oh man, this is awful. But I watched myself. I knew what needed to be corrected, and I did. So eventually, I started. I didn't need my notes anymore. I read it before, just like you did to introduce me. You had your notes before. You looked at them before you come on, and now you can do it. So not everybody is able to do that. So congratulations, Ayesha. And so I was able to really start enjoying it.
Yes.
And it's the same thing with any public speaking venture. If you're getting too comfortable, it's time to do something different.
And That again, it's funny thing that it resonates again with me because I come from finance as well. And I remember in my beginning days, I would literally stutter talking to my leaders. But after joining Toastmasters, I look forward to this monthly business reviews where there's the CEO, the president, and all the leaders are there, and I have no difficulty communicating. As a matter of fact, I enjoy those.
Yeah.
Because I feel that that's a place for me to showcase my skills.
Yeah, and it's interesting because it is not uncommon for someone who is in finance to not be at ease, in front of public. So
Yep.
you'll often see these presentations by finance experts that are like, and here we have another number, and are there any questions? Oh, please no.
Yes. On questions, I want to take a little segue here. Our last guest, Lance Miller, left a question for our next guest, Alexandre Matte. Let's see if he can take it. Question, please.
What little thing in your life that you discovered or you developed made a big difference in your life? So what little thing in your life made a big difference in your life?
Sometimes we are inspired, or our life can change by just a tiny thing, right? And in my case, one tiny thing was my baby children. So I'll give one example. I was, during my parental leave, the babies are very small, maybe 6 months old, and every night we give them the bath, okay? And we alternated because we had twins. So one baby one night, we had a system to know which baby is next. So I put them in the bath, but every time there was a panic, big panic. She didn't want to go in the bath, and I'm thinking, this is not normal. They're supposed to enjoy this. And I searched everywhere. I talked to people. I searched online, and eventually it's my spouse, as I was putting the baby in the bath, who said, "Why are you doing that way?" I'm like, I'm just putting her in the bath. What do you mean? Well, you're putting her butt first. Try feet first. Well, yeah. Well, when you go in the bath, you go butt first? No, of course you would cry if someone put you in the bath like that. It's a shock. Try feet first. When you go in your bath, you go feet first, right?
Like
right? Am I right? Now we've got images in our head. So, and when I did that, everything was fixed. No panic anymore. And they started enjoying the bath, and me too. So how is that a big thing for me? So it's a small thing, just a small lesson that I learned by giving the bath to my kids. But it's also a lesson in empathy. When you're dealing with people and there's a problem somewhere with someone, you have to put yourself in someone else's shoes, or in someone else's behind, if you will, and realize that by doing that, you better understand them. You can have a better understanding and better communicate by doing that. And that's a great leadership quality, I think.
It's amazing that you brought the word empathy here, because that's something I connect that word with you. And I just want to take a little bit of us time here to show that when the first time I met you, I was few months in Toastmasters, and you were years experienced, but you made me feel equal. And that's leading with empathy. So I call Alexandre Matte somebody who leads with empathy and kindness. And I think that would be a beautiful note to end on. But there's always a little buts to the...
A little but, as we were talking.
Exactly. Please leave next guest, a question for them.
What is one embarrassing or shameful thing that you did that you've never told anyone?
Ooh. We're going to have some fun with that question. And on that note, it's a wrap from us. Signing off, Ayesha Hussain. Until next time.
When I was a young child, my mama told me, son, don't ever let them make you afraid, and never let them see you run. So no matter how they beat me down with their fists or their words, well, I get back on my feet again, and this is what they heard. Well, I stood up, and I laid it down, laid it down. Well, I stood up, and I laid it down, laid it down. As the years rolled by and I was lost in the blood rage of my youth.
Sorry.
We can cut this out, right?
Yes,
Okay.
you were saying.